Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniX TCG, and for today's video we are doing our preliminary tier list. I know it's a little bit later compared to other people's tier lists, but my personal slogan is that I don't like making tier lists until I feel like I've tested enough to make a tier list. So that's where we're coming at from here. If you like the content, like the video, and if you love the content, think about hitting that subscription button. And if you want to go the extra mile, go in the description, check out Universe X, that's my Dragon Ball / anime channel, and give that a subscription too. I am 28 subscribers away from hitting 1,000, and it would mean the world for me to break that milestone here. And yeah, pretty much just check out what the channel has to offer. So let's get into this, and I hope you guys enjoy this tier list. All right, so we have quite a lot of things just to like kind of go over. There's a lot of leaders out right now, so we really kind of just got to get down to the bottom of it. We have it separated by colors because, like, you know, when you don't do that, people can just kind of skip around and whatnot, and I want there to be a good discussion on this, so make sure you guys get up in the comments and let me know how you guys feel. So the tiers that we have here are top of the format. These are the decks that I fully expect to saturate the top cuts in the first couple of regionals or so. We've got wild card, and wild card is going to be very special because this wild card is fairly up. Normally you'd have wild card down. Most people will think that rogue and wild card are the same, but they are not for this video, and I'll explain why when I get to it. Competitive are decks that I fully believe can top, but for one reason or another, they just don't have the consistency, or they might have more than one really bad matchup, things like that. Rogue are just ones that I know are powerful, but they just have to hit like the absolute good run in terms of matchup roulette and whatnot. And then locals tier is anything that, you know, has strategies, maybe not the best. And then this ain't it tier is like just that. This ain't it. Like, there is not really a reason to play that deck over any other deck, period. So let's go and start with the first deck, and this is Starter Coup. Starter Coup, we're just gonna put him in that's not it, this ain't it tier. Realistically, red is a strong color, but as of set 5, almost all of red's good support has come in the form of Daima specific leaders, and this just makes it so that like other red decks didn't really get buffed this set as in set 5, and that's just kind of a harsh reality, but it is what it is. We won't spend too much time talking about a leader that's not like that. U7, put this guy in locals tier. We keep getting more and more U7 cards. Aggro can still work well, especially in this format where the game has gone more mid-range than it possibly has ever gone before. That's just like, just look at the cards. Every deck benefits a little bit by, if like decks that didn't even used to go towards 5-6 energy, they can benefit for having more and more energy. There are better mid-game cards, bigger, beefy bosses. So yeah, this is just one of those that it rush, super hyper low to the ground aggro can sometimes get there. It's just the closing out that can be hard. Now Beerus, we're gonna put Beerus in competitive. I think actively Beerus is either at the mid to bottom of competitive or the top of rogue. The reason for this is that before, Beerus's entire position was to be the better board controller, right? And then on top of that, he has critical pressure. Well, now, between some of the better things that have come out, the thing that you'll always see with Beerus is that Beerus's hand never gets too high, especially if you're playing around him correctly. You're not just feeding him cards. Beerus doesn't really get a high hand. And with a lot of the decks that are out right now, the pressure of set 5 is the highest it's ever been. Your auto loss matchup, blue, is still a very, very strong color. And then on top of blue still being strong, you now have a lower to the ground green deck in Namaku, and a lot of people are playing that. A lot of people are having fun. And Beerus sometimes won't even have the hand to push through those 3-2 life. You have yellow with a strong barrier target that removes most of what Beerus can play. Beerus got more bad matchups in this set and doesn't necessarily have a better matchup. So he's either going to be, by the time we're done with this, we might move Beerus, but Beerus is either top or rogue, bottom competitive. Top Coup, automatically in, this is not it. Once again, he didn't really gain anything. The pool that these 3 leaders are using are pretty much the same. You only got 1 Kefla, that's just not that. Daima Goku, I'm going to just put here as competitive. Basically, yes, he gained all the support that was made for the new Namaku. There's just a couple of things that I think separate him from his counterpart that we'll get to soon. Jiren, I'm putting Jiren at the top of locals tier. Jiren, for 2 sets in a row, has had one of his best matchups in the game turned into an almost auto loss. And now the way Jiren is set up, because Jiren has to play specific cards like the Jiren SR, usually TOP, he has less room for cards that specifically board clear. Like Beerus can play all the board clear tech, so can pretty much Daimaku, but like Jiren's a little different. And so when Jiren's set up against like Jiren's like one of the only red leaders that high school Goku can like actually set up on, because he just has less minusing generally per build. In set 4, Warm Greeting came to green, allowing green to completely make this matchup easily winnable instead of an auto loss or going extremely uphill. This set, Frieza SCR came out, and now that means that Jiren can even hold on to Jiren's against yellow. So we're just at this point where like Jiren has more holes in it than a block of Swiss cheese, and now you're looking at blue being an extremely hard, almost unwinnable matchup for it. Green can keep this guy down, yellow can keep this guy down, black is using the Goten to bounce things back, and it has more pressure than ever. And then if you face the fellow red deck and you just have a fair amount of, you know, minusing, you just destroy this deck too. So yeah, it's just, Jiren is unfortunately for me locals tier right now. I'm gonna put this guy in locals tier as well. I think he has better matchups than Jiren, so I'm gonna put Jiren behind him. But at the same time, UI Goku, now the one thing about UI Goku is that forcing it to awaken early and then keeping the wide pressure on is probably the best thing you can do against this leader. And there are multiple leaders in the like top of the format / competitive that are able to do that now. You're looking at like, just look at some of the hard hitters this time. Like Janemba is going to be able to play a wide Ginyu strategy, a wide, like just, they don't even have to use the Ginyu force, you can just play wide. Frieza will play wide. Daima Goku will play fair enough wide, but then will also be able to use things like Glorio to get the dual attack in. You just have a lot of things you can do. Now, his UI Goku can ball pretty hard against like certain green decks, because you guys will both maybe get to the late game. So maybe there's an argument to put it up on Rogue instead of locals tier. But Janemba is going to be one of the strongest like decks in the format, and it's going to be popular. And Janemba just being able to put the pressure out and set up versus this guy is going to be very, very rough. So I think he might actually have to be in locals tier, because one of the most popular decks in the format just auto outs him. On top of that, you're going to have like a lot of the, we might change this later, but like Baby, Janemba, Daimaku, even Majin Buu, these are all, or Super Buu, these are all cards, they're all leaders that will get around this guy, Frieza, and just really hurt him. Daima, this is going up here. Sorry, like, I ask the Patreon members, they will tell you, no, Daima belongs up here. His pressure is top notch. The form of Glorio kind of really makes like the late game not as hard as it ever was for red. He's able to pull a lot of damage out of nowhere, and then you clear up the board very, very easily with this leader due to him turning cards into 30Ks with no effort, allowing you to use, you know, it's over extensively. This is my favorite red deck right now. I have it fully built, and like I'm 4 alt arts away from having it fully altered. I love this deck. So yeah, he's definitely up here in the top of the format tier. Now, let's get over here with these, right? Blue. In this format, blue gained a really, really good double strike combo if you can meet the threshold. Outside of that, since a lot of the cards were focused on, you know, just a lot of it was focused on just getting your threshold in set 5, and you can play a much slower game, but I will stress that lots of the decks that are up in this top of format tier can make it very hard for you to hang on to your life like Blue's been able to do. Like I will double down on this, I will stress it, pressure has never been as strong as it has been in set 5. Set 5 just has like unparalleled pressure from almost every color. So we're gonna take Vegeta, and I'm gonna put him over here in competitive. I do think he's very strong. I just don't think he's top of format because I'm going to try to keep this fairly exclusive. So yeah, that's there. I'm going to take Trunks, and Trunks is going to go to Rogue. Blue is in a really good space right now as long as we don't get Peel-Off banned. And honestly, every blue deck will probably be in competitive or Rogue. It's minus one of them, and you guys probably already know which one it is. Goku Black is... Goku Black, I think, is... he didn't really gain anything. We didn't even really get any base Zamasus. He can high roll, but that's... I mean, off the cuff of blue, he's just really strong. Also, Goku Black can really amass a board that's hard for red to deal with. So if I'm going to put him in locals tier, I'm going to put him above these red decks because you probably have the tools to survive aggro. You have the removal to hurt most of red. And then you can go wide enough to the point where you're swinging too many times around this Goku. So that. Zamasu, yeah, that's there. And honestly, I need to test this matchup more. But for as it stands, I'm probably just going to put it here. I don't think it's the best deck in the format. I just think that, like, I'm just gonna, this top of the format is not gonna be in order. This top of the format has good matchups all in it throughout each other, so I'm just gonna keep it there. But yeah, so Zamasu is the tankiest blue leader, and at this point, being able to heal and being able to be a base 25 probably weighs a little bit more than the 35k you get with this. Zamasu can play a naturally long game, has a discard outlet when he's awakened, and therefore can naturally reach those 20k thresholds without having to just like recklessly mill, and that's going to be a huge part in Zamasu's game. So I think that Zamasu's defensive capabilities and how long he can last as a blue deck outweighs Vegeta's 35k, which is not going to be the golden standard for much longer. I think in this format, like in this format, defenses are just like you're asked for too much for defenses. You need a deck that can either hyper aggress, cough cough cough, or a deck that can stay alive, cough cough cough, or a deck that can do both, which we'll talk about later. Satan City, I'm gonna say it's competitive. It's competitive, but it might be close to bottom of competitive, mainly because when you look at these decks, the more we get through this list, the top of the format's going to kind of denote how I place these. And Satan City can get its smaller pieces harassed by red. It can get its smaller pieces interacted with by blue. It can get its smaller pieces in green. They're fairly safe for the most part. In black, 10 times Kamehameha, and now in yellow, especially with Janemba's effect and some of the cards we got, those things are getting tapped and swung on every single turn, and so it's going to be very hard to keep aboard with Satan City now. Alright, we're going to have our first This Ain't It leader. This card is just doo-doo, but on top of that, it's still blue, and so its cards will naturally mise the rest of this tier so far. Now, Gohan is actually really funny. I'm going to put Gohan over here in Rogue. He might actually be, for me at the moment, top of Rogue, because he's still able to bring back the Gotenks cards, and he's able to bring back the Vegito cards. We don't have like a Gohan SR or anything, but he's got some good targets to recur. But the other thing is, he's the original leader for the Graveyard Threshold. So playing him, you have the ability to use his leader skill to discard. If you build his deck the way people were trying to before, and then just add in some of the set 5 cards, Gohan actually has a build that takes advantage of all the new support, all the support he had from before, except you don't have to just start lugging cards into your drop. So like, it honestly, I have him at Rogue, but so far his testing has been pretty fun. I'm going to put him here. I think like I don't think he's de facto better than Vegeta, but he actually plays very nice with the new setup, and maybe that'll be my little treat to you guys. I'll show you guys what I'm cooking up with him. But he plays really nice with the set 5 cards, and then on top of that, he doesn't have the weakness that Halo-Ku currently has to the rest of the format, where his setup is just like tapped and destroyed. Vegito is going into competitive, and it's probably going to competitive right here. You have so many things you can do with Vegito. And yes, the only time, like the reason why he's over here in competitive is just because Vegito sometimes has some moments where you had a really tight game with your opponent, and then you awakened and milled 2 super combos. And then you have to use 1 super combo to not take some heavy damage or some like ridiculous stuff, or to protect a vital piece on board, or you have to use a super combo and maybe multiple 10Ks to not get double strike crit by Goku from the Namaku deck. And when you do this, your opponent can see you have 3 super combos in grave and 7, 8 cards in hand, 9 cards in hand, maybe 10 cards in hand, but they just know that the math is there. With no more super combos, or the possibility of only seeing 1 super combo, they know they can push you for 10 above and start wrecking your hand, and you'll be on the same clock that you were trying to put them on. The other thing is that as Vegito, you do have these points where you will mill a super combo, and another super combo, and another super combo, and another super combo. Like between the Goku SR that you used to put 5 in there to set up the drop and your leader flip, you can mill all 4 super combos and your opponent will just stop using caution, because there's just no way they can count the amount of combo you have in your hand. There are no wild cards. If you're tapped out, there are no wild cards. So this guy is incompetitive, but he's definitely just like high risk, high reward. When he goes off and you don't miss certain cards like that, dude feels like monsters. Green is okay right now, but we're just gonna put this in locals tier in no particular order. At the end of the day, you have a lot of ramp, and you have Broly, or you have a lot of ramp, and you have you have Broly 8. But on top of Broly 8, because he automatically goes down to 2 life in order, or 3 life in order to awaken, there are some funny things you can do. Like you can actually awaken at 3 life and then just play the secret rare Goku. Like Broly actually can play the secret rare Goku, and it's actually pretty fun. But you also have the ability to run life gain in there. But he's just locals tier. He's either top of locals tier, he's bottom of rogue. I don't see him really like. He might be able to win something. We can put this like here, at the bottom of rogue. But he has some funny plays, but people just aren't really exploring him. Gohan is locals tier. I don't really see him doing much else. He didn't really gain anything from this set, so to speak. Like very generic what he gained. And it's one of those things where it's like you could put a lot of cards from the new set into him, but those cards would just be better off in Namaku, essentially. So the only reason why I like this guy is the 25k body makes him a little sturdier versus yellow, and in some cases versus black. And then he's going to actually be able to put himself at a threshold to play the Goku without forcing yourself into it. So yeah, that's why I like him. Androids, let's just not play unless they hit 4 cost. This is the best green deck, because you can go wide, you can go tall, you can start looping cards, amassing cards, you can ramp hard. Androids is still the best green deck right now, and that's unfortunate because other decks need to breathe. Cell, we're starting to hit critical mass with 10Ks and whatnot. Cell can probably survive long enough to do things. And the thing about Cell is once Cell is on a roll, it's really rough because they're destroying cards and they're gaining life, and all the metrics that you want are going the wrong way. And unless you get put up against blue, Cell Games Arena is doing a lot. I mean, green, if they're still running one greening is one thing, but Cell Games Arena can still do a lot. It's rogue. I don't think it's ever gonna, like, it's not like sitting here like bossing people, but you can run up against Cell and then just get mollywopped. A lot of people don't want to admit this, but this is rogue or locals tier. Not because of its power, it's just that Piccolo is so inconsistent. If you see Piccolo, you just have to turn your brain off and try to rush it down, because likely Piccolo is not going to be able to defend itself correctly. But at the same time, if Piccolo gets to its end game, it's lights out for pretty much any deck in the game. Once Piccolo gets rolling, you have a 2-turn clock because he only needs to touch you with his leader 4 times, and 2 of those will happen per turn. So Piccolo is still good, but that inconsistency is where it's at. Like, he either wins and it's close because you're about to die, but then you locked in and you got your, like, you got your conditions and you popped off, or you got slid and you never had a chance in the game. You were just hoping to draw into a chance. So Piccolo is in rogue tier but honestly, he could be in rogue tier or locals tier. He might be the king of locals tier. I think in the format that we have coming up, already 2 out of 3 of these decks will set up on him and make it very hard for him to breathe. One of these decks, it depends on the build. Vegeta's gonna be in locals tier for me. Unfortunately, all the Namek Saga things say Namek Saga. Like, they say Namek, Planet Namek. They don't just say Sand. So he didn't gain like any support from this new set really, and that hurts, man. That hurts so bad. He needs some support. Get this man some milk. And I don't think he's fast enough. Like, he had some stumbling points last format, and the format got faster. Namaku is going to be our first wild card. I'm just gonna put that there. There's 2 wild card decks this set, and Namaku is the first wild card for me. Now, the reason why I put Namaku as my first wild card is because Namaku it's kind of narrow in how it can be built. I do think the build I have on the Patreon is like, it's different from what I keep seeing, and I've been having fun with it. But the thing with Namaku is that he can swing at you for 65k double strike with crit for 4 energy. And you either have to give up 2 super combos and a 10k, or half your hand, or just eat it, right? And that is devastating. That feels awful. However, on the other hand, his hand can get very fragile. There is a bit of a hand problem. You don't really get too many cards in hand mid through late game. On top of that, though, he does have a little bit of an issue where sometimes you can amass quite a bit of zeros. You can have 7 cards in hand and 4 of them do not combo, and that's very, very rough. And I know you want to use your cards as you get them so you don't get stuck like that, but you don't always get that decision. Like, sometimes the decision is made for you. Sometimes you get a card from Life from Self Awakening and you get a draw from something else, and they're both 0Ks, and you're like, holy crap. And that could really, really be rough. The other thing is, this deck just simply has a hard time winning when aggro gets on the move. The other thing that kind of gets me about this Namaku is a lot of these cards, a lot of these decks, you can try to, pivot your deck building around, right? You can try to make sure that you have a better chance of not getting completely mised. But Namaku, like, I already found out, I'll tell you right here, testing Daimaku versus Namaku, the games were like 60-40 in Daimaku's favor. The moment I just was experimenting and put in 3 Tamagami 3 blockers, it became like unwinnable for Namaku, because I would just, when they start getting down low enough, I would just play Tamagami 3 out. And if I had the space, I'd just play a Sega 1 out. And then there was really nothing they could do. Like, I would just keep it up so that when they try to swing with Namaku, the secret rare, Tamagami eats it, and I just keep it moving. And I have to dive into the other colors to see what other colors are capable of doing that. But like, yeah, Namaku can punch somebody out of the game and be extremely fun. Namaku can also just get walled and be extremely not fun depending on the deck. So that's the only kind of issue I have with Namaku. Aggro can really get to it. It's hard to out defense their offense. Like, when that secret rare starts swinging, you're probably just taking damage or losing hand. But there are some decks that are capable of doing so. Having a card like having cards like Kui, if you still want to run the Kui blocker, yes, they can destroy it before they play their SCR, but if you duck their SCR one time and then play a Kui, they at this point can't destroy the Kui without getting their SCR tapped. And since you can only have one SCR on the board, there are going to be points where you just outmaneuvered. So red has Tamagami 3 blocker, yellow has Kui. Yellow Vegeta actually can probably get up to the correct amount of defensive power because of its extra cards. And then because you can only have one of them there, if it gets tapped down by by yellow, or if it gets Para Brothers by black, which against green, black sometimes just gets this ungodly hand, sized hand. It's just huge. And there's just a lot of things that I think that Namek Goku, it's a high risk, high reward deck. You can do a lot and it's super fun, but yeah, there are some points that kind of take you out. Frieza, going straight here, okay? Frieza's really good right now. You've got more Awakeners, you've got so much Frieza clan support, you've got the cheatsy King Cold into 4-drop, which means that you've got Mecha Frieza, which is a 10k mind you, and Mecha Frieza can go into a King Cold, which can go to 3 bodies, and yeah, that's 13 energy for 5. That's crazy. Because of having cards like Bulma and the new Pod Frieza, you're able to replenish that hand very, very quickly. It's just good. Frieza is just actually very, very good, and I implore you guys to test with it. It's a very fun deck right now, and it feels very rewarding, and your secret rares never leave the board. Your secret rare 4-drop Frieza will never leave the board. Ginyu, right? I'm putting Ginyu in competitive. It sounds funny, but the way, like, Ginyu didn't gain terribly much, right? Ginyu gained a Jace that's a crit, and you do have Frieza's spaceship as well. But with the things that Ginyu currently has, if you don't run up against a 25k leader, you are likely going to get overwhelmed by what Ginyu can do. I wouldn't take Ginyu into a tournament because you just have to run into one Zamasu and your day is finished. And also, to be honest, running into Namaku is pretty bad too, because they'll just wipe your board every time they see it's over. So I wouldn't take Ginyu. So let me actually put this back here. I'll put this over here. I wouldn't take Ginyu into a regionals because there's so many factors that you cannot control. There's too many. Like Zamasu going up to a 30k with its 4 cost will lock you out of the game for the turn. Daimagoku having the ability to force you to restart your board from nothing every single turn. You know, you could run the 7-drop in Namaku if you wanted to, but even with full power and Gohan, you're still doing a lot of those things. Blue has a lot of cards to get rid of your board as you build it. There's just a lot of things that can stop this, but just don't be surprised if you randomly see a Ginyu person in top 32 for regionals. Because if they just avoid certain matchups, like Ginyu, just 20k spam is going to put half these decks into there. 20k spam is going to punish androids. 20k spam is going to contest Frieza. 20k spam is going to probably punish the crap out of Namaku. 20k spam is gonna hurt Vegito. It's gonna hurt Diamond. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. So then you have Cooler. Cooler's locals tier. Cooler got cards, but the main issue is those cards don't stop the fundamental issues of Cooler. The fundamental issues with most critical leaders, actually. If you get stuck on Awaken and you don't draw all the correct amount of self-awakeners, even if you're running 16, you're at a point where you are starved. Your opponent will just build up and be safe, and they will starve you. And then you flip over and you're very weak, and your opponent is at a energy, you know, kind of level that they're just going to be able to play what they want to play, and that's going to suck for you. Now, that being said, if you are playing with one of these leaders, a crit leader, and you do have 16 self-awakeners, you also run the risk of getting to a point where you need gas, and all you're drawing are a bunch of cards that take life and have like 20k power. That's just not it. That fundamental issue is what hurts critical leaders so much. The only difference is that red is so powerful generically that you have a lot you can use with Beerus. Whereas with Cooler, you're kind of locked into the Frieza clan due to his effect. And yes, you can build with a lot of self-awakeners, but you can get this guy caught lacking a lot because he has to just start to use his effect. If you ever catch him in a bad position and you just lean on that position and you starve him and he flips over with 5-6 cards in hand, he can't use his leader effect too often. He will bottom out and you just keep putting the pressure on. It just hurts. It hurts bad. Yellow Vegeta. Shoutouts to JTP. If you guys haven't seen his channel, link will be in the description. He's a local homie, puts up a lot of gameplay. Vegeta's actually kind of up here. Lots of people haven't been testing him as much as I thought they would, but Yellow got enough cards to really help this dude. And like, you can kind of like do some cool stuff. Like, you know, in the first couple turns, your extra cards are useless, right? Well, now on turn 3, you can play this guy take a life, untap an energy with the Janemba SCR, and still hold one up for your Death Ball, for a time around possibly, depending on what's on the board. That's beautiful, you know? You can actually do so many things. You can play Janemba, take a life, untap one, play Bulma, giving you more opportunities for the double self-awakening turns that aren't just Vegeta. Like, he has a lot more routes, and then with cards like Raksasha, like Hell Raksasha, he has way more of an ability to defend himself, lock down the board. He's actually pretty good. He's a pretty good leader right now. Majin Buu, I'm gonna put here, and this ain't it. Yellow is strong, but Yellow has not gained more Wicked Souls, or, like, you know, you're not gaining an Evil Wizard or Wicked Soul. Like, Yellow has not grown stronger to help this guy out. He's just there. He's literally just there. You could literally take anything in his deck and scoop out the worst cards and then just play Majin Buu. Now, Majin Buu is of this weird space to me because it's probably still in competitive, but to be honest, its aggro is not faster to the ground than Ginyu. And its mid-range aggro is not stronger than the mid-range aggro of these guys. Its discarding is pretty good. So I would say that Majin Buu is still competitive, but it does kind of get scary. His field is getting cleared by like I said, I compare it to the top row. He's got some good matches versus androids, but androids can play slow and go completely turtle mode and try to stabilize against this deck, and it does get there sometimes. Maybe not all the time, maybe a 60-40 in Buu's favor, but it does get there. If you play Buu versus Frieza, that's just miserable because they'll start locking down your stuff and you can't untap them, you can't do anything, and your hand whittles, and this card is going to be swinging and removing your stuff like the Frieza and whatnot. Buu versus Zamasu is already kind of just funny. And then Buu versus Daima is weird because Daima has the ability to clear Buu's field almost every turn that it can use. It's over, once again, common theme. But on top of that, your Glorio turns are pushing their hand in. So it's like you race Majin Buu for mid-range aggression, except that Daimaku has better removal. So you can keep your boards more often while Buu is losing their boards more often. It's kind of rough. Now, the other wild card, I know a lot of you guys are going to hate me for this, Janemba is in the wild card format. A lot of people are saying Janemba is S tier. I don't disagree. I don't think that Janemba is weak by any means, but Janemba has multiple ways it can be built. That's why my Janemba video hasn't come out yet. Once I realized I was too late for spoilers because I just wasn't on, I had to like figure out what I could do past that. And I really want to make something special for you guys when it comes to Janemba, and so I keep retweaking it because it doesn't feel good enough each time, and I want to up that quality. Well, Janemba is a very, very strong leader with a lot of flexibility. But with flexibility comes a fight before you even get to the table. That fight comes at the deck construction place. A lot of people aren't getting that if you go into a tournament, right, and you don't have certain cards in your deck, right, Janemba could be playing blockers like Kui. Janemba could be playing cards like Hell Raksasha. A Hell Raksasha, that card being able to say, okay, I'm going to go up 25 and then I'm going to tap something. Every card that has to untap in battle or on its attack gets hurt by that card. That is Glorio in red, which is the menace of red right now. Hell Raksasha gets out of the first Glorio attack and then taps it down. That is Broly. Hell Raksasha and another card stops Broly 8 and then taps it down so it doesn't get a second swing. Hell Raksasha can get out of a Bardock 3 swing if it's still being played, tap it down so it doesn't swing again. There are a lot of things that you can do here, and those are very important. Meanwhile, a card like Hell Raksasha can help out those matchups. So if you have that in, you're going to have better matchups versus Daima, you're going to have better matchups versus green decks, right? But then you go over and you think about, you know, another card that most people don't play, which is Blue Power Awakening or Awakening to Blue, whatever it is, 2 costs, you know what I mean, destroy something 6 or higher, or give yourself 25k. You could decide to bring that in, and against Daima, that card kind of useless, you know? It hits a secret rare if they play it. Against Frieza, that card kind of useless unless you get the secret rare Frieza dropped. Against the mirror, it might be useless unless you get the secret rare drop. But if you're playing against any green decks, if you just see multiple green decks, that card's putting in work. If you see blue decks, that card's putting in work. Like, there are so many weird tech choices that Janemba can run, and the reason why I put Janemba in wildcard is you could build a wonderfully good Janemba deck and then go into a tournament and not see any of the matchups you teched for. But you could take that same deck to a regional next month, not change a single card, and just run into the mirror or the matches that you teched for, and you sweep it. And that is the part about Janemba that makes me feel like it's a wild card. You have to be so in tune with your local meta. You have to go to a regional and start talking to people. Start being like, what? Like, you have to know. You have to be online. You have to see the trends. I think the Janemba is going to blow up locals because you play with your local friends so often. You know how they play and you know what they like to play. Therefore, you can tune accordingly with your Janemba deck. But there is no one superior build for Janemba, and there are tech cards that can help you out versus everybody. If you go into a meta that is mostly blue, you might just want to throw in a couple Majin Boos, maybe 3 Majin Boos on top of your 3 Friezas, just so you can stack up the board with barrier threats and then just protect them, so that you always have pressure on the blue player and they can't remove them. Because if blue has to keep staring down a whole field every turn, it's going to be rough for them. You could have a format where your opponent swings for constant 30s, and therefore Janemba playing a little bit of a book out of Yellow Vegeta's page with some more extra cards might be the way. But you have to know what you're going into, or have a strong hunch and act on that, because the same Janemba deck will perform drastically different in different micro metas, and that's why I have it at the wild card. Janemba, I fully expect to see it top, but you're gonna have people with Janemba that top and people with Janemba that scrub, and it will almost completely be down to how they built their deck and what matchups they saw into that build. Done at me. Now, all the black decks are pretty much working on the same plane. Honestly, 3 out of these 4 black decks are running almost the exact same deck, minus like 6-7 cards max. Right now, black decks are able to draw a ton of cards. They're able to press. If they can keep that energy marker up there, they're doing well. But I'm just gonna put all 4 of these up here because there's a thing that this has got to do, right? I think right now, when it comes down to it, the Bardock package is not really good, and they haven't really gained anything. So you're really just looking at the 5k. So he's just a 25k leader, and 25k isn't 30k, so I'm gonna put that over here, right? Now you have GT, and GT is a weird thing because the GT, you use his effect less than you use his specific cards. The Pan and the Goku, the 4-cost Goku that becomes a double strike when it's over, like, I think like 45k power, those are your bread and butter. Those are the cards that you want to lean on. His effect, using the energy marker for his effect, is something that rarely happens. And so, to be completely honest, this is going to be kind of where I have this. These are good effects, and it's not like Gogeta is bussin' high key above these. But the thing about Gogeta is that all the pesky effects you hate with black can be recycled with Gogeta. You can double 10 times Kamehameha somebody in one turn just by simply using 10 times Kamehameha. Like, you could have 5 energy and be like 10 times Kamehameha for 2 of your cards, take an energy to make an energy marker, Hercule 10 times Kamehameha again to blow up your other cards. And those things are crazy. Like, having your field wiped by 3 energy from Gogeta is wild. He has the ability to really tame low to the ground aggro. He has the ability to use energy markers multiple times a turn for things like Para. He is good. He's good. He's weird. He's like training wheels for the black color, but he's also good. But then you have Baby, and Baby is going to be up here because Baby is the only leader out of those 4 black leaders that can actually play a different game. Baby has an extremely low to the ground aggro package. Baby has a very good mid-range engine, but Baby can also splash the cards that we just got. You can still run Super Saiyan 3 Goku for some massive draws and that. You can run your 4 Bolas. You can run your Super Saiyan 4 Gokus. You can run your Super Saiyan 3 Gokus. You can also run Kakarot if you so choose, but hey, it may not even be worth it at that point. But you have a lot of ways to generate markers, and you can use the new cards such as, you know, Fusion Reborn, which will search out almost all the deck, like if you want to. You have the ability to just play the baby cards and let yourself naturally draw. The new baby is a great filter card. You have a Bulma that can immediately +2 you by getting you a card from your life and then turning sideways to draw you a card, and then if you're awakened after that, you can swing and counter or combo with her so they don't even get a chance to swing on it. Like, you have a lot of good stuff you can do with the baby deck, and it can be built multiple ways. So it's a switch hitter, it's very powerful, and I think it just has more flexibility and range than either of those other 3 black decks because it has an entire other archetype that it can play on. So yeah, this is my meta list. This is my preliminary tier list based off of the testing that I've done since full reveals. I do believe that the top of the format, having one from each color, I do believe this is where I feel like it is. I do want people to understand that wild cards can feel just as strong as top of the format. They just need to step through some hoops. And I'm not saying that Janemba needs lucky matchups. I'm just saying if you make Janemba too generic, there are going to be some strategies that get into it. If you make Janemba a little too tech heavy, you're going to sacrifice certain matchups for other matchups, and it really depends on what you see, making it a wild card in my opinion. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know how you guys feel about this particular list, if you'd have anything moved up, if you have anything moved down. These bottoms don't really have much of an order, neither does this. They're all pretty much in the tier. The only thing that has a for sure order is that Janemba is the best wild card. Like, Janemba is almost between these. I think Janemba is one of the best leaders in the game. I just think that the deck build is so fluid and there's no catch-all. You will weaken yourself to one matchup by trying to be stronger versus another. So that's just kind of where I have it. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good discussion in the comments. Ask me any questions, I will answer them. And of course, as I keep testing, there is going to be a point, maybe a month or so, that I'll make another tier list that may adjust some of these based on the testing. But this is where I just am right now from the testing I've done so far, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, if you want to do me a solid, go over to Universe X, give it a subscription. It's in the description. We are literally 28 people away from being at 1,000. That would mean the world to me. We're starting to put up deck lists on the Patreon. We're also doing testing nights on Wednesday now with webcam, seeing as that everybody is starting to get their cards. If you want to join in on that, yeah, just join in. Be on the Discord or the Patreon page. I try to do a roll call the day before. Yeah, we have a lot of fun out here. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video.